Good afternoon, one and all present here. On behalf of the EDUREFORM team, I'm Mansupal, Innovation Manager, EDUREFORM Project, Chitkara University. Welcome you all to the webinar on the topic from idea to publication, a comprehensive guide on research. So let me just brief you all about Chitkara University. It is a project that aims to mitigate the impact of fourth industrial revolution on Indian society through an education reform for future and in-service school teachers. So the main motto of organizing this webinar is that the Erasmus Plus EduReform project is inviting the researchers to present
Mansi, we don't hear you.
quantitative or qualitative studies, theoretical or conceptual elaboration, and case studies offering you don't hear me?
So.
Is everything fine? Am I audible properly now?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, I'll start again. So good afternoon all the audience present here. On behalf of EduReform team, I'm Ansi Uppal, Innovation Manager, EduReform Project, Chitkara University. Welcome you all to this webinar on the topic from idea to publication, a comprehensive guide on research paper writing. Before talking about the webinar, let me just brief you all about the EduReform project coordinated by Chitkara University. It is a project that aims to mitigate the impact of fourth industrial revolution on Indian society through an education reform for future and in-service school teachers. So the main motive of organizing this webinar is that the Erasmus Plus EduReform project is inviting the researchers to present quantitative and qualitative studies, theoretical and conceptual elaboration, and case studies offering innovative perspectives on education at the time of fourth industrial revolution. So don't miss the opportunity to publish your work in the Scopus-indexed Journal without APC cost and to present your article during the international conference on rethinking education in the age of artificial intelligence to be organized at Chitkara University, Punjab in December 2023. So, talking about the ultimate objective of this particular webinar is to enrich our audience and inspiring researchers about the crucial elements of a good research paper and to brief you all about what will be the requirements of our editors. Let me introduce you all with our very special guest speakers and the masters in the field of research. Dr. Anna, she is the Professor, Faculty of Education, Psychology and Art from the University of Latvia. Also, we have with us Dr. Sridhar. He is Assistant Professor, Doctoral Research Center, Chitkara University, Chitkara Business School, Chitkara University. So without wasting any time, I welcome Dr. Anna to take this session ahead.
Do you see my screen? Do
Yes,
you see my
Professor Anna.
screen? Yeah? So everything is visible, right? You see my screen.
Yes.
Okay. So, dear colleagues, dear teachers, dear students, dear all the participants, It is my great pleasure, and I am very privileged to be here today to initiate the conversation on how to write a good research paper. Very briefly about myself, Mansi has already introduced me, but I come from Latvia and I am affiliated with the University of Latvia, the Faculty of Education, Psychology and Art, Teacher Education Department. I am an assistant professor and senior researcher, and my main uh, research focus uh, is my focus is on teacher education and also internationalization of higher education uh, and the related topics. Okay, I know that Mansi has already told a couple of words about our call for papers, but maybe on the screen when you see the text on the screen, it will be easier for you to perceive all the information. So I'm privileged to be part of the Erasmus team, and this project invites researchers to present quantitative and qualitative studies, theoretical and conceptual elaborations, and case studies offering innovative perspectives on education at the time of the fourth industrial revolution. So I want you not to miss the opportunity to publish your work in a serious journal, a Scopus-indexed Journal, without any extra fees uh, applied, and to present your article during the international conference Rethinking Education in the Age of AI, organized at Chitkara International University, Punjab, in December 2023. So once again, I emphasize that we still have plenty of time, 2 weeks, because the deadline for submission of the full article is April 15th, 2023. And here on my screen, you also see the link to the EDUREFORM website. And if you want to obtain more information, please connect to this, access this website to see what is expected. So thank you very much. So the team of the EDUREFORM um, project have worked on researching the main trends in the field of education research, and here you can find those trends and the topics which are relevant to be published within the scope of this journal. And these are pedagogic practices and learning techniques, innovative teaching practices, learning technologies in education, multilingual digital teaching practices, promotion of critical, analytical, and creative skills in the classroom, innovation in assessment methodologies, behavioral and cognitive studies for learners and trainers, and the last but not the least, so socioeconomic studies related to education and the fourth industrial revolution. So the topics are broad, but you can narrow them down. I will tell you later how we usually do that. So, but all in all, you see our broad scope. So I gently encourage you to participate in this activity. So my role was to initiate the discussion, and my colleague will go deeper, will dig deeper, but I'm going to talk about the general guidelines and points of concern. So as all of us know, writing good research paper is vital for academic success. As we all know, academia are very busy. Yeah, so we need to deliver courses, we need to work on course development, etc., 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 handling several objectives at one time. So the strategy for us is to invest our limited time strategically, considering the elements and categories that truly matter within the preparation of your article or publication. So, several points, I have summarized several points that can give rise to a research topic. Most probably you will recognize your path through exploring those several points. For example, many teachers, when they come to the classroom and encounter some problem in their day-to-day work routine, they may want to find out the causes of the problem and how to solve it. They may want to plan an intervention to see how well it addresses or solves the problem. So, based on this point, we should assume that teachers are involved um, in never-ending research, for instance, applying, for instance, case studies or action research, in the sense that they are elaborating their practices uh, in the long term. So that was point one. Some research projects may begin with an area of interest or personal experience the researchers may have been wanting to investigate. Maybe it's not about coming to the classroom, but a wider category like the area of interest or the area of personal experience. Another point is that some research topics may begin with a recognized area of importance or topical concern in the field. For instance, in Latvia nowadays we are involved in a project focusing on competency-based approach, School 2030. So many studies are being conducted in this field. Yeah, so you have to recognize the topics important for your local context. Another point, which is very crucial, yeah, that and it highlights that some research is conducted as part of a sponsored research project, in which the field and purposes of the research must be spelled out very clearly in order for the sponsorship to be attained. For instance, when being involved in a EDUREFORM project, I have I I have chosen the topic which is relevant for them. So here I need to negotiate upon my provisional research with with the sponsorship um, area. So whatever the research area or topic is identified, it should definitely be original, significant, non-trivial, relevant, topical, interesting. I don't like the word interesting, but here it goes quite well, saying that interesting for the audience, yeah, interesting to a wider audience, and of course it should advance the field. This is most important. So this is why I have three exclamation marks. Yeah, the research should move the field forward. It may also be a small scale research, but without this research, this field would be poorer. This is what you have to consider, how to advance the area. Okay, usually we start, as I already mentioned, my colleague will go into deeper details, how to conduct literature review, for instance, how to apply bibliometric analysis, but I will briefly introduce why we need this literature review and why it is an essential part of many kinds of research. So it serves, literature review serves many purposes. For example, it ensures that the researcher's proposed project or other research will not simply recycle the existing material. Reinventing the bicycle is not necessary. The exception is a replication study here. Yeah. So, literature review gives credibility and legitimacy to the research, showing that the researcher has completed the home assignment and knows the up-to-date key issues and the theoretical, conceptual, methodological problems in the field in which the research is being proposed. So, completing your home assignment is very important to bridge the gaps. Literature review also acts as a springboard into the study, highlighting issues, gaps in the research field, and providing a partial justification or need for the research. It makes clear where new ground has to be broken in the field and indicates where, how, and why the proposed research will break that new ground. So we are heading towards innovation. So there should be an innovative uh, element included in your research frame. Uh, Literature review also indicates the researcher's own critical judgment on prior research or theoretical concerns in the field, and indeed provides new theoretical, conceptual, methodological issues for research. So, literature review also sets the context for the research and establishes key issues to be addressed. We cannot deal without doing literature review in this case. It also enables the researcher to raise questions that still need to be answered in the field, how to move the whole field forward, and how to look differently at the field. It also establishes and justifies the theoretical and conceptual frameworks of the research and the research design. So that was briefly about finding your research area, research field. So now we are going to continue, and what is important is understanding the logic and structure of a research paper. So as I have already mentioned, the theme of the paper should be a novelty and researchable. And the theme is usually researchable when there is a problem to be dealt with, as the example with teachers in the classroom showed. Yeah? Problems to be resolved. So the general framework of the full article, I will not go into very deep details. I will concentrate more on formulating the title, but as you know, the key parts within the full article development is title, authors, abstract, keywords, and main text, which includes the categories from the IMRA structure, which is introduction, methods, results, and discussion. So why I wanted to talk a bit about the title formulation is due to the reason that research shows and our observation and my personal experience in delivering courses on research, research methodology, etc. Many participants say, okay, formulation, I can decide upon that in the very end. But actually, it is very important to start with it as SAP because it will provide you with the framework of your provisional work. So, but once again, I want to emphasize that this is your opportunity, yes, this title, to attract the reader's attention. So remember, addressees are the potential authors who will cite your article. However, what I want to say, for me, this is not the most significant point. This is my opinion. Of course, it's nice when we are cited, but at the same time here, I would rather think about advancement of the field and about my reputation. Um, so this is the key things I want to say. So how do we usually, one of those ways how to uh, formulate the title of the paper, and it should contain, in the ideal case, this is what I write in brackets, the topic is the problem you identified controlling idea, which stands for the possible solution for the problem, and the research sample or context, yeah, place or people involved or some other context. So the title of your paper should reveal the essence of the research. The potential addressee, reader, should have vision on what the article is about. For instance, I read the title and I see, okay, This is how the author resolves this or that problem. And if I'm interested in this research field, then I will definitely go for that. So you understand that formulating the title is very important. And in my opinion, we have to start with it in the very beginning of the paper writing. So the data, some more practical things, the practical things for the articles is that the data of the practical research, also theoretical research, should be reflected, visually analyzed and interpreted. It should be logical and easy to follow. Therefore, it's a very good idea to plan the structure of the paper before you begin to write it. Uh, no need to say, but still I will shed light upon the points which sometimes become barriers to successful publications, and these are the issues of accuracy in language and high standards of language. So it should be grammatically, lexically, and stylistically well performed, observing formal academic writing style. So accuracy stands for high standards of grammar, spelling, punctuation, etc., etc. Here I have a small, short, brief comment saying that consider face validity. Most probably all of you know what is face validity. It is the way it looks. Yeah, so the way it looks, whether you have observed all the rules and whether you have met all the requirements as concerns the paper outline and layout and stuff like that. So when I look at the paper, I should see that the author has invested time to comply with the requirements of some journal. And usually these are the journals which propose the framework to work within. And we should observe that in order to ensure face validity of your research. So, as I wanted to touch upon several categories, uh, and I would wish to exemplify that through the items we have, elements we have in the introduction, because introduction usually contains all the scientific categories. So what you have to start with, it is introducing the topic or the problem of the research and give any essential background information on the problem, outlining it and stressing its topicality in the specific context and its importance either in the country, in your country, or broader. It can be also broader and other contexts. So this is what you usually start with. You are substantiating the choice of the topic and why it is crucial to address the issues the author proposes. So the introduction must include, yes, this is about the categories, the aim of the research, the objectives or the tasks, and by completing these small tasks or steps, the aim of the research should be approached and finally achieved. The research questions should be genius, um, and the author searches answers to during the literature review and empirical or practical research. So as concerns the research methodology, so here in different parts of the world, in different contexts, this category or application of this category may be different. This is what I am observing in my um practice as an editor for several journals. And for instance, here in Latvia, if we talk about teacher education, these are generally the big research methods we introduce. These are case studies, action research, experiments, survey or ethnography, also phenomenology, etc., etc. Due to limited time, I will not go into deep detail, but you understand what our uh, path path is, because every topic may be considered from different perspectives when we apply this or that research method. A research sample, yes, description of participants, and as well as research time, duration, and place. This is briefly about research methods, but of course, if you have any questions, you can contact me via email. So the next category is providing the evidence, and this part would be the methods of data collection. And here in the brackets, I have a couple of examples such as observation, questionnaires, interviews, journals, evaluations, field notes, videotaping, data from achievement tests, attitude inventories, psychological tests, photographs, etc. And what for? In other words, their aim, why this method is used. So you have to choose the most appropriate data collection methods which fit your needs. So, key considerations. I have summarized key considerations, and here in the final slide you see the reference, but I will go back, and I have adjusted that framework to for us to look through, yes, what is important, what is crucial to keep in mind when we are working on our research paper. So limit the scope and scale of the research. Think narrow rather than broad. I totally agree to this. Yes, we can't cover everything, and it is valuable if you uh, narrow down your topic, but look through it uh, from all the perspectives. Keep the focus clear, limited, bounded, and narrow. Yeah, so this focus should be narrow. And the third point goes hand in hand. Don't be overambitious. So in writing or an article or when conducting research, most probably we shouldn't go that global. Yeah, so we can start with local context and then further on investigate, expand our scientific inquiry. So here I have point 4 and I have 3 exclamation marks again, and I believe that this point is very, very important. I will read it and then try to exemplify it. So choose a topic that might enable you to find your niche or specialism in the research or academic world, or which might help to establish your reputation. So what does it mean? Yes, most probably you understand what it means, but what it means is that uh, uh, my experience shows that establishing the niche, your own topic, your area uh, is very important for your future when you, in the ideal case, will become a prominent researcher in the field, and your field of expertise will be clear. Yes, and starting with this point, like building your reputation and finding the research topic, the niche, will help you later on. Will help you later on in establishing your place in the academic world. So we continue, and this is for you to think about. Yeah, as if nothing new, but something that has to be emphasized. Decide why the research is important, topical, interesting, again I take it in brackets, timely, significant, original, relevant, and positively challenging. This is important to think why I am writing this, why I am doing this research. Is it relevant? Is it timely? etc., etc. So, decide what contribution the research will make to the conceptual, practical, theoretical, and methodological fields. Yes, so you need to contribute to this community, to this knowledge community through addressing those key points. Decide whether your research is mainly to fill a gap or to break new ground, to be innovatory. This is very important. So the next point is why your research will be useful. Who will be interested in it? We need to have a clear vision of the addressee. Who is going to be our addressee? Decide what might be the impact of your research and on whom. Choose a topic that is manageable and practicable. Yes, again, don't be over ambitious. Make it manageable, step by step. Uh, Choose a topic that will enable rigor to be exercised. Choose a topic that has clear boundaries or where clear, realistic, fair boundaries can be set. Decide what the research will deliver, deliverables we call it. What will the research do? What will the research seek to find? And final considerations are as follows. Consider the likely clarity, scope, practicability, comprehensiveness, ease of answering, framing, focus, kinds of data required, comprehensibility of the research questions and their combination. Consider whether the research will influence or make a difference to practice, and if not, why it might still be important. Yeah. So, for instance, if you see that it doesn't make difference, you need to substantiate your viewpoint, why it's still worth attention, and why you have to resolve or review uh, your research project on focusing on those points. Why is it important? And finally, consider how future research will be able to build on your research. That, for example, or it means that the research opens up possibilities rather than closes them down. So this is all from me. I hope I have managed within 20 minutes. And thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you so much, Professor Anna. Now I request Dr. Sridhar to take over the floor. And before Sridhar sir starts, I request all the audience to give your questions on our YouTube so that we will be taking up the questions at the end of towards the end of the session. So our team of EduReform is collecting all your questions. You can ask any doubt that you have from our experts.
Hi, good evening to everyone. Is my voice audible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Anna, for your brief introduction about all the sections that the writer have to concentrate or focus on while writing the research paper. So the brief introduction about all the sections has been provided by you. Myself, Dr. Sridhar Manohar, Assistant Professor, Doctoral Research Center in Chitkara University here to detail about each section that what is the possible way to go deeper and understand and how it is easy to frame the research paper, the sections, each section, the strengthening of each sections of that research paper. So as you start, the first problem that everyone would be facing is the title framing. Uh, The thing that the researcher have to keep in consideration, that the title must always be researchable as explained by Miss Anna. There must be some kind of a theoretical gap or a management dilemma or the opportunities which seek for some kind of an answer for the society improvement development. It must not be anything, a kind of a fact or an opinion or a discussion, uh, where you don't need to have to do a research. There, it's a fact, and there is an opinion, and there is a discussion for which a researchable. It is not a researchable content that you waste cost and time on it. The title initially, when you frame, it must consider you must consider combining both the conceptual gap and the contextual gap. When I say conceptual gap, it talks about the domain, the area or the stream which you are working on. And when I talk about contextual gap over here, it talks about the geographical differences and the industry differences. So there must always be a connection between conceptual. So you first identify the conceptual gap, which gives a higher strength and value for your research rather than the contextual gap. Some kind of a concept which already has been tested in a different geographical location. So I want to check it in your geographical location. Might be a similar kind of concept, but there might be different in context. At that point of time, you have to be very detailed in explaining why a difference in context would affect the conceptual changes. So better to have a higher publication opportunity, try to figure out a kind of a deeper conceptual gaps that existing in your own domain, for which a proper literature review is very much required. So you can identify the latest topic or research topics from special issues or call for papers from the leading journals, or I would also explain that how you can look for the recent topic which has been discussed in your domain. The domain over here is something where a group of people working on a similar topic or similar idea. So when you start writing the introduction, you have to ensure that you broadly discuss about the concept, how it got evolved. So you have to go with a strategy called as a funneling strategy. So introduce about the concept, how it evolved from the domain, and then slowly you bring down to a specific construct which you wanted to test and prove to the world. So this is how you try to give a particular introduction. So you have to give a background about that particular concept, and then slowly show the connection of that concept with other concepts, so that the people in the domain can understand that at what point you're trying to start your research work, and what particular gap that you're trying to close or fill, so that it could be helpful for the future researcher to go much forward. And also try to explain the readers that how that particular concept you're doing research is fitting within that domain. So you have to explain about what are the antecedents, what are the typologies, what are the factors, what are the associated concepts to that specific concept which you're trying to explore, or you're trying to do some kind of a description of that concept, how, what, when, and then why that the result has been observed, or you want to do some kind of an experiment, or you want to do some kind of causality, causal effects. So in that case, you have to tell the audience, the readers, that how this particular concept is being placed among all the other concepts in that domain. So a very important part of your introduction is that the both conceptual and operational definition. So conceptual definition is something that the widely accepted definition in that particular domain. So you have to explain, suppose you are bringing couple of concepts in your research, you have to explain briefly that how people have accepted that particular concept in the domain. So that is conceptualization. And the second one is what are the specific component of that concept you are going to consider in your study to test and validate it. That becomes your operational definition. So for example, if I say a concept as satisfaction, satisfaction is a concept, well-defined concept, which everyone know what is meant by satisfaction. But specific to my domain, for example, I'm coming from an HR domain. For me, satisfaction is employee interaction, kind of a supervisor support, motivation, salary. If you're coming from a marketing domain, satisfaction could be customer happiness, customer engagement. So contextually it differs. So you have to clearly construct what according to you is satisfaction, that you have to define to the audience that in your study satisfaction means this. In your study this concept means. So that is what the operation definition. So you have to clearly give the operational definition. Some of the examples which I have given over here for the conceptual definition and also the operation definition. See, if there is a difference, there would be a possibility of a measurement error. So conceptualization and operationalization must be closer. So what you're trying to operationalize must be similar to what people have already conceptualized in that domain. If these two things are different, then there are chances that what you wanted to measure, what you wanted to prove is totally different from what people think about it or people who give opinion for that. So try to always ensure that the reader in the introduction itself clearly understands what is the concept, how people have accepted in your domain, and what this study is going to help the researcher to prove something or to understand or to show the direction and magnitude about the conceptual growth. So this is an important thing. And another part is that you try to always associate with proper theories behind those concepts. So every concept that has evolved in your domain is associated to some kind of a theory, or the kind of a lens that you wear and watch that particular concept is the theory. So ensure that when you're trying to create a conceptual model or a kind of a theoretical model, there must be some theoretical background or a theoretical support behind that, the conceptual connections or the linkages that you bring among those concepts you consider in your study. And for these things, one kind of uh, way or a method is a systematic literature review. So systematic literature review helps you to find out what is the trend of literatures, or what is the trend of the evolution of the concept over a period of time, who are the top authors, who are the publishers who publish in that particular domain, and what kind of a citation is being given to each article, what is the number of articles that has been over published over a period of time, what are the theoretical connections that is there in that particular domain. So these things you can understand from a bibliometric or an SLR. We call it as a systematic literature review, which includes the narrative literature and also the meta-analysis, meta-synthesis, and bibliometric analysis to understand, as I said earlier, the conceptual connections and the growth of the concept over a period of time from the seminal papers till the recent papers over a period of time. So we have a certain number of framework for doing an SLR. This is one of the framework which call it as a SPAR for SLR framework. We also have Prisma framework, which tells you that how you have to you can assemble, you can arrange, and then you can assess. Assembling in a sense how you can bring or download all different type of research papers in your domain, and then how you can arrangement over here is classification of those research work into different areas, and then detailedly look over each and every research paper, what needed to be included in your review and what needed to be excluded in your review process. Many big confusion among the researchers is that they don't know what type or what kind of a research papers that they have to include in their research literature review, and what are the papers that have to be kept aside. A huge amount of time would be wasted, that unnecessarily you read more number of papers might not be contributing for the novelty or newness needed to be added in your research work. So this is one of the steps that you can follow for the inclusion and the exclusion aspect of um, the research paper. And another way, when I talk about, is the bibliometric analysis. In this, you can also try to download the relevant research articles for your paper. So here, if you see, if you have the access to Scopus database, Scopus is one of the database which has a high quality research paper being published in it. So you have an opportunity to download the majority of the research papers which has been published recent times with the option of keywords and the string of keywords connection. So here is one example which I have given over here. If you see in search document, in education or learning, it would be the broader domain. Broader domain is an education or learning, and within that broader domain, I'm specifically focusing on assessment or examination. So or represents that either these word appears in the title or in the keywords. So such papers would be shortlisted and given to you. And the third the string third word would be the secondary education. So I mentioned secondary education. So over here, the database in database data mining, it would be searching for the title or the keywords wherever there is the word education or learning appears along with that assessment or examination appears along with that the secondary the word secondary appears. When I search for this over here, an example, we have got almost 427 documents which has been found where you can see all these three terms has been appearing in each and every research papers. And the left hand side you have various filters which helps you to reduce the number of papers and be very specific to those papers which you are looking for. The latest paper, you can filter based on the year of publication. You can filter based on the subject areas. For example, here I have mentioned arts and humanities, could be related to education or engineering. So you can shortlist as per that with respect to the journals, books, reviews. So these filters helps you to reduce the number of papers and be very specific to the list of papers that that you can come out at the final stage for your review purpose. So this is the way we call it as the methodology for literature review, the step by step methodology. So initially you collected the maximum number of papers, slowly you started filtering to a specific number of papers, and then it also helps you to classify based on the keywords. So that is the next aspect. Over here you can see at the left hand side you find keywords, the connection between the keywords. So the literature review, this is also another way of doing a literature by building a table with certain specific variables as the columns. Over here, the very important columns are the knowledge gap. At the last column, if you see, if you write for each and every paper, what is the knowledge, what is the gap that particular paper is not able to answer for, which is not able to give or contribute to the domain. So you have to mention that particular gap. And over a n number of papers, you do literature review, you would find the overall gap in that particular domain that you can take it forward for answering. That could be the best way to explain that, to justify that this particular problem is been existing over a period of time, and you are one researcher in that domain ready to answer that particular problem. Other way is finding the keyword connection. So based on which you can develop clusters. Clusters is closely associated keywords, and then see what is the connection of one cluster with another cluster, and which are the concepts which has been widely discussed, which are the concepts which has been less discussed. Based on that also you can try to emphasize that this particular topic is not being addressed, this particular connection has not been established in the existing literature, this particular conceptual clarity is not there from the existing literature, so you are trying to go forward in proving it. So this is one of the analysis, technical part, where you have sentimental analysis. You can see over a literature review or done, we have taken certain the content from the existing literature, and we have done a sentimental analysis to show that which are the topics which has been widely discussed. Widely discussed are those topics you can see in a bigger size, and the less discussed topic is would be in a lesser size. So there you can see which way that you can try to see the connection, and also which are the topic needed more clarity, or the lens or which you have to use on which topic. So these are the different analysis that you can bring in your literature review to make more interesting for the readers, to tell that why you are trying to do this particular research. And so rather than writing a more number of papers, the pages to establish the problem, a couple of analytical skills that you can bring in different part of the research or different section of the research. We call that as a multi-modeling aspect, methodological aspect, where you bring triangulation process at every section of the research, the subsection of the paper. It helps the readers and also the reviewers to show some kind of an interest, more interest to read your paper. When you funnel the problem, the introduction final part is very important to tell the problem statement. The best way to tell the problem statement is to give a strong premises and then respective claim. Premises over here is the established result of the previous study, and the couple of premises could be argumental. Argumental over here is that okay, one school of thought says something, another school of thought says something, some school have not even addressed the problem. So when you try to bring couple of premises, an argumentative way of discussion, and then tell to the world or tell to the reader, see, there is no clarity among the people in that domain, or there is no such set of people who have seen this particular concept from this particular perspective or a dimension. So I am trying to do that. That would be the way how you show the originality of this work. Many papers get rejected because not because of the quantitative part, or not because of the literature review. The very important question that many reviewers is asking, why this, what is the contribution of this paper, what is the novelty of this research, why people we have to accept this research in the domain. So this is the place where you establish, you try to convince the reviewers and readers that this is very important problem to be addressed at this current point of time. So another important aspect that you have to be okay, keep in mind is that some the title might not be connected to the statement of problem, and then the statement of problem could not be connected to the objectives, or objectives would not be connected to hypothesis. So ensure from the starting till the end of the paper, you focus on answering the research problem. To answer the research problem, you need to have the right kind of a research question. So answering the research question would answer the research problem. And for the research problem which cannot be directly answered, you frame certain set of objectives. So now when you frame objectives, it must be highly linked with the questions, research questions, which can be answering the research question. And similarly, for each and every objective, you might have couple of proposition or hypothesis. So the linkage must be very strong, that once the hypothesis is proven, the objectives are proven, and then the research question which answers finally the research problem. Methodology, very important. When you talk about the design, which has been already spoken by Anna, what kind of a research design you're choosing, it is up to you. It is up to the research problem that what is the most appropriate research design you use. You cannot take a questionnaire to a child and then ask the child to fill. Rather, the different research design have to be adopted over there. You can go with an observation method, or if you're talking to tribal people, answering the tribal things, again, questionnaire would not be the right, survey method would not be the right way of getting the opinion. So there you can go with some kind of an ethnographic study, or you can go with some kind of an observation. So you, as a researcher, you have to be very specific with what kind of a research design, and how you are choosing the right sample from the overall population. So the establishment of sample, because the generalization problem happens, many question comes from the reviewers very specific to the sampling frame and sampling unit, and how you are going to generalize to the entire population. So this is the place where you have to be very specific, that who would be the right sample who would be answering the opinion. And also you have to come out with an additional component in your sampling design, we call as overcoming sampling error of such as response and non-response sample, how you're trying to overcome such errors in sampling. And what kind of an instrument you're using? Mostly we use some kind of a questionnaire, or you might use some kind of a scales that measure. Maybe in physics, chemistry, they have different measurement technique, and in the biology, they have a different measuring technique. And when you're trying to get the measurement for stimuli and response method, the most widely used would be the questionnaire method. So you have to clearly tell and how you develop that particular measurement tool. So when I say instrument, how you develop that instrument with multiple scales in it. Make sure you have different parts of that questionnaire. Try to have an administrative question, try to have a classification questions which can group the people, and try to ensure that there is a high reliability and validity of the target questions that you have in your instrument. Make a clear plan. Don't try to have a longer plan for a data collection. Try to be very specific with the time period that you go with data collection, and also the authentication of that data which you collect. Make sure the respondents are willing to give a response. There is no kind of a non-response error. Non-response error could be more, so try to give more number of reminders. Try to ensure the respondents that their data won't be used for any commercial purposes. For example, for a questionnaire it is fine, but if you go with some kind of a video interview or an audio interview, the problem is that the respondent will not be willing to give a opinion taking one side, because tomorrow the same video or audio can be used for different purposes. So ensure, give promises, build trust among the respondents so that there is no biasness in their response. Make sure you have some kind of a descriptive and inferential statistical analysis in your study, in case if you're going with a descriptive experimental or a kind of the correlational, the nomological regression, or the analytical side part. And also when you go with a qualitative side, try to have a qualitative based analysis like sentimental analysis, network analysis. So it helps, or it also makes the reader and the reviewer to summarize with the quantitatively and have some kind of a magnitude direction, and also clearly know what is the exact value, or what is the exact the condition or the position that the researcher is trying to prove from his research. So try to use both qualitative and quantitative part in your research work. Analysis and research, which we discussed about. So discussion, again, very important part where many researchers fail, is that they start interpreting the result in discussion section. So discussion section is not an interpretation area. You need not interpret anything. The result interpretation would be a different section. In discussion, you have to discuss about why such kind of a result came, if it is in line with the existing studies, if it is aligned with the reality practical aspect. So you have to explain that. So that is what you have to discuss in the discussion. So don't try to again interpret what result you got. Try to tell the world that how it is applicable in reality, why this such kind of result has appeared, whether it is in line with the existing theoretical part and also the practical part. So ensure you have three parts of implication: theoretical, practical, and currently very important is the societal implication. Your research, how it is going to contribute to the existing knowledge, practical aspect, and also the society. What is the role of, or the role of the outcome of your research to the development of the society. And at last, ensure in your conclusion, make sure that from the research problem till the originality or the scope for future research is connected. Means whether your problem is being addressed by the research question, by the objectives, by the hypothesis, by the methodology, by the result you found, whether it is going to have some implication, originality, and there are some kind of a future scope from your research work. So this kind of mapping is required at the end of your research, which helps you to write a better conclusion. Finally, how you're going to give a reference. So ensure that you see the author guidelines to any research paper you're submitting to any journal. You go to their author guidelines and go to the referencing part. Understand what kind of a referencing they are expecting from you. This is very important. Some papers would get rejected because you don't follow the specific format given by the journal. So the title, the abstracting style, the chapters, the referencing, everything important before you submit a paper to the journal. So have a checklist to ensure that all the criteria requested or required by the journal is being addressed by you in the paper. So in case if you can add certain components as an annexure. Suppose there is a long table, long figures, or you have a detailed flow charts, questionnaire, these things, or supplementary content that is taken for review or not review, that can go into annexure. of the paper, so that the numbers, the word count could be reduced in the actual body of the manuscript. So thank you very much. This is a brief, detailed things that I wanted to communicate or tell to the people, that how to frame the research paper along with the content given by Anna. Thank you for the team. Thank you everyone. Thank you for Chitkara University for giving me this opportunity to give a brief details. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sridhar and Dr. Anna, for this informative session. I hope that our audience has enjoyed and got a very good insight about how to write a good research paper. Sir and Dr. Anna, we do have some questions from our audience. So, our first question from one of our viewers is that kindly share one more insights, kindly share more insights on case study research. So if any one of you want to share something about case study research.
Anna, you can, are you answering this, or you want me to answer for this?
It's up to you. It's up
Yeah,
to you.
thank you. A case study is very specific to a particular industry or a particular geographical location where you have something called as a case seed. Case seed could be a problem or an opportunity faced by that respective firm over in the roadmap. So it can be a current problem, or it can be a kind of a problem which happened at the past, which have the managerial connection or kind of a theoretical connection to it, which can be taken to the classrooms, or which can be considered as the possible problem that could occur in an organization for the future. So this way you start figuring out a case sheet, and based on that you start collecting all the information or data about that particular company. And with respect to generalizability, it is very specific to the company. It is not, cannot be generalized to all companies. Maybe it can be generalized to that particular industry, not to the entire sector, or the all the sector. So case studies are very specific to a company. The problem occur to a company for which a suggestion or solutions are needed. Anna, anything to add in it?
So, provided that I belong to the field of education, I could exemplify that by how a teacher can implement the case study. So, in easy words, a teacher identifies the problem through theoretical or other research, uh, finds the solution for this problem. The teacher goes to the classroom, applies the new techniques or the new methods of teaching, and uh, analyzes the results, of course applying data collection methods. So basically, this is that case when problem and solution are uh, explored in one particular setting. This is a case study. If we talk about action research, which is also very popular in teaching profession, this is kind of a cyclical process where you, in easy terms, conduct several case studies. So you introduce your solution in the classroom, you analyze the results and elaborate your framework or your techniques and do it once again. And you do it until the moment when you see that your uh, top uh, aims um, are met.
Mhm. Thank you so much, Sridhar sir and Anna, for this explanation. I hope our viewers are able to clear that. So we have one more question from the audience. That is, some write the word implications and some write contributions under discussion section. Are they same?
Sridhar, most probably it's a question for you. You were talking about the conclusions and implications and
The result, when you talk about the result, or based on the result, what kind of the kind of when we adopt or when we take the result in reality and practical, what kind of the changes that could happen in the industry side would be more appropriate with implication. The slight difference is the contribution could be more theoretical. What this particular result has been contributing to the existing theories or the conceptual connections to establish. That is, so I don't find, based on my reading over a couple of research papers, I don't find a research difference between these two things. So mostly, if you come in the business side, it will be written as implications. What is when we take this result forward and imply on the managerial actions, what would be the changes that the manager can come out with, and what is that this result has been contributing to the existing knowledge or theories which is there in the domain.
like contributions to
Okay,
the advancement of the field and implications, what consequences, like about the consequences of this conducted research.
Yep.
thank you, Sridhar sir and Dr. Anna. So we do have some other questions, but we will be because we have already exceeded the time. So I will select all the questions and will be forwarding it to Sridhar sir and Anna, and will be posting it on our page for our audience to clear their doubts. So now I request Ms. Sadika to officially close the session and thank our beautiful and very informative experts for this session. Sadika, over to you.
Thank you, Miss Mansi. Hello, everyone. I hope you all are doing well and had a great time during the session. I wanted to take a moment to thank each and every one of you for taking time out of your busy schedules and to attend the session. I want I would like also to express my gratitude to our esteemed speakers, Dr. Anna and Dr. Sridhar, who shared their valuable insights and knowledge on this crucial topic, a comprehensive guide to research paper writing. Their presentations were not only informative but also engaging, and I am sure we will all learn a lot from them. I hope you found the session informative and enjoyable. We look forward to organizing more sessions like this in the future. A quick reminder about the call for papers, as mentioned by Ms. Mansi in the beginning of the session. The topic is Rethinking Education in the Age of AI. The paper will be hosted on the Scopus-indexed Journal on e-learning knowledge and society. The deadline for submission of EDUREFORM call for paper is 15th of April 2023. For more information, you can visit EduReform website, that is www.edureform.eu. You will find all the guidelines for this under the second tab, that is call for papers. Once again, thank you for your participation and support. Wishing you all a great day ahead. You will find all the guidelines for this under the second tab, that is call for
Thank
papers.
you.
Once again, thank you for your participation and
Thank you,
support.
everyone. Good
Wishing you
afternoon.
all a great day ahead. You will find all the guidelines for this under the second tab, that is call for
Thank
papers.
you.